Yo, what's up guys? Today I'm going to show you the monk build I've been rocking in the middle stages of the endgame. I just finished clearing the Iron Citadel and I figured it's the perfect time to share this build with you. Hopefully it can help you out if you're feeling stuck or struggling at this stage of the game. Here's everything you need to know. This monk is more catered towards the middle stages of the endgame. If you are just starting out or wanting to create a monk, you can watch the other videos that I created. I guarantee you that it will help you if you're struggling in the story or the campaign. I also have a middle early game and the close to the post game builds. But today we will be talking about the builds, the equipment, and the passives that I included in this build. So first off, let's talk about the skills. The skill that I am using is still Ice Strike. Same thing. That is the core of this build. Although we have made some changes towards the support skill gems. Not much, but we're still using Martial Tempo, Cold Infusion, Leverage, Ice Bite, and Rage. Now, Elemental Expression, because this is, by the way, an Invoker. If you're wondering if I have Unbound Avatar, no, I don't have it. I cannot get Unbound Avatar because this sunder my enemies. This is very important. This build focuses on critical chance and critical damage. That this passive node benefits this build huge. And this is also a bonus. Later I'll show you why. And then we'll talk about the passives later. But for now, let's move on to the skills. So, Elemental Expression. The main purpose of Elemental Expression is to apply cold exposure and blind. Yeah, because this focuses on dodging and blind gives enemies negative 20% accuracy rating. So it's a big help. And of course, the old Tempest Bell, which has overabundance, Font of Rage, Font of Mana. Shattering Palm has magnified, primal, cold penetration, momentum. Herald of Thunder, now this is something new. We have Shock Siphon, Lightning Mastery, Concentrated, and Innervate. Herald of Ice, the same old skill. Wind Dancer with Energy Barrier, Ghost Dance with Fast Forward. And another new to the build, Charged Staff, has Persistence, Lightning Penetration, Conduction, Lightning Infusion, and Lightning Exposure. Combat Frenzy, which has Perfusion, and the good old Blasphemy, which is Hypothermia. Okay, now, the spirit cost of this build is 229. If you are short on spirit, then you can take off Blasphemy. Okay, now you're wondering, this build doesn't have Flicker. The fact that I didn't put Flicker into this build is because I couldn't stand the animation and I'm getting motion sickness. That's why I don't have it. Alright, now let's move on to the passives. Now this build does not require cold penetration or lightning penetration because sunder my enemies from critical hits, you're already ignoring elemental resistance of the monster. Also, if you don't crit but you freeze them, this Heavy Frost, they'll also ignore it. So hits ignore non-negative elemental resistance of frozen enemies. And it doesn't matter what type of element you apply to the monster, as long as they are frozen, you ignore their resistance. And start off this one. This is very important because in endgame, having high dodge and energy barrier is not enough. We need to have armor. And monks do not have any armor passive node. So we can't build as much as a warrior. So this is our only chance to get armor. And this one right here, this is what's going to give you spirit. We don't need spirit from amulet or the armor. They won't work. So the main goal is to get as high evasion rating and energy shield on your armor. I prefer Wayfarer's jacket because it gives chaos resistance, but even if it's not Wayfarer's, it's okay. As long as you can get your resistances to maximum, it's okay. Moving on to the passive tree, so we get flow light water, mindful awareness, crashing wave, and then move on to moment of truth. Then we will get this cluster node in here. This is going to save you a lot. And this one right here, conservative casting. And as you progress, when you get resonance, the moment you get resonance is the moment that you can do charge staff. Without this, you won't be able to do charge staff. It's going to be difficult. It's possible, but it's difficult. Resonance will combo with combat frenzy. So every time you freeze a target or electrocute or pin, you get a frenzy charge. But we need power charges, right? Resonance will convert your frenzy charges to power charges. So that's how we can obtain those. And that is very important. Deep trance reduces the cost of your skills. And as you move on, get Spectral Ward. This one in here. This will give you huge damage. 50% increased damage with hits against frozen enemies. Your damage doesn't need to be cold element. As long as they're frozen, any element will do. And then this overflowing power. Now this is really optional. You don't really need to get that if you don't want it, because the only thing that this passive node will give you is the duration of charge staff. It doesn't add to the damage. Well, of course, except from the 20% critical whenever you use charge staff. But aside from that, it only adds like around 12 seconds plus 40%, like 16 seconds. I got it because it's convenient for me, but even without that, you're going to be fine. And then in here, one word river, whirling assault, martial, all about building the quarter stave. And then right here, coming calamity. This, since we're using both Herald of Ice and the Herald of Thunder, this passive node benefits us greatly. And it'll really improve your damage by a lot. And this is towards building our critical chances. And this one, you will really need a lot of dexterity on this build. So I highly recommend getting proficiency as well. Then Falcon Technique. Then Reaching Strike. Another optional thing. You don't need it, but if the +2 melee strike range is convenient for you, then get it. But if you're fine dashing and then attacking monsters, yeah, that's okay. You can skip this. I only got it because it's convenient for me. Alright, now, this build does cost quite some. I say around 10 divine, because of the armor. Now, you don't really need to copy this. You can get something on your price range, but I would say it would get around at least like 6 divine, 7 divine, or it could be higher. You may reach 10 like today, because when I bought this staff, Divine was so rare. People are only asking for Exiles, and I only purchased this for like 10 Exile. That was a couple of weeks ago. Today's different. If you try to purchase this, it will cost you a grand. But the important thing in the staff, melee skills, and the raw damage. And for gloves, it's only going to be focusing on resistance. Of course, if you can get higher raw stats, the better. Higher armor and evasion. But if it's not something on your budget, prioritize resistances and mana. That's what's going to help you progress. For the belt, it's another resistance belt. Of course, mana. And boots will be movement speed, resistance, and mana again. You can ignore the rarity of items. It's there because I want it to be there, but it's not a requirement to be able to complete. If you can afford, then why not? Rarity of items is such a good passive. For the ring, I am required to get unset ring because skill nodes, all the skills that I'm using doesn't fit, so I need one option. But if you're going to pass on blasphemy, then you can pass on unset ring. If you can get cold damage, lightning damage, then that's great. But the main focus in here is mana resistances and mana regeneration. Same for the other ring, resistance, damage, and resistances. Of course, if you can get mana in here, mana regeneration, then the better. Then for amulet, it's going to be armor, evasion, energy shield. All the best that I can find because you don't need spirit. And I guarantee you that your amulet's going to be a lot cheaper compared to other classes who need spirit on their amulet. Same with the armor. But the focus in here is energy shield, evasion, armor, mana regeneration. And for the helmet, okay, so I'm getting armor and energy shield. You can go with whatever you like, but I prefer this. In here, the focus is critical chance and resistance. And of course, mana. Mana is a little bit low because it's really hard to find a helmet that has both mana resistance, high raw stat, and critical chance. When you run this build, the first thing to do is to right click. Well, I have my right click on Shattering Palm because Shattering Palm, as you already know, it kills a lot of enemies. And Shattering Palm, then normal hit, then charge staff, and then kill everyone. As you can see in the video, that's what we do. If the enemy's getting hard, put a Tempest spell. And that's it. You should be able to make your way through the game. And I hope you enjoy this video. If you find guides like this helpful, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. It will really help me a lot. Thank you and goodbye.